This is part 3 of my Outlander Season 7, Episode 9 review. As always, this will have spoilers for the show and the books, so if you are looking to avoid them, please do keep on scrolling. So we are in the office at Lallybroch, and Jamie and Claire call Leary in to discuss legal matters that affect Joni, because Joni has made it clear to Jamie that she would like to join the nunnery, and Leary would rather have her be married off to someone. She does not want any part of that. Jamie has always had a very soft spot for Marcelly and Joni, and he says that to Leary in this scene. And he knows that without changing legally the laws pertaining to her dowry and his agreement with Leary, she will basically be forced into a life that he knows now that she does not want. Leary wants nothing of this. She's very upset about being called there. She thinks the whole thing is hogwash, as she says. He informs Leary that Ned Gowan, who is still alive, revised their agreement and annulled parts of it so that Joni would benefit more from the new agreement. So in the new agreement, Leary would be able to marry the man that she's actually in love with. She had not married him up until this point because if she did, then Jamie would basically not be able to pay her money and she couldn't keep Belrigan. It's currently under his trusteeship. Now, Joni expressed to Jamie that the one thing she really wanted for her mother was to keep Belrigan. She feels very tied to it, and Joni didn't want that being taken away from her if she were to marry this poor stable boy that she fell in love with on the property. His name is Joseph Boswell Murray. He is not mentioned a ton in the book lore, but he is crippled. One of his legs is shorter than the other, and so he needs Leary, and that's something that she does throw in his face during their confrontation, is that he needs her and Jamie never needed her, and that makes her love him even more. And so basically Jamie's giving her an olive branch. I will give you what you want. You can marry the man that you want, and I will also make sure that you are supported and taken care of, and that it isn't going to affect your life greatly, but it will also benefit Joni, and she will be able to do what she wants. After they are wed, Jamie would no longer be bound to the alimony that he owed her, and she would have to release Joni's dowry so that she can go on the journey that she wants to. Jamie also provides some gold to give to Joni for the upkeep on her journey at the coven of her choice. So he really makes every effort to make sure that Joni has the life that she wants and sets the record straight with Leary, and that she can be with the man that she wants. Leary very reluctantly agrees that this would be a good scenario for both parties. She does take a jab at Claire while they're asking why she's there, and Claire is there as a witness. The whole scene, I think, was played perfectly. It was longer than what we would get in the books. Most of what we got in the books was a conversation Jamie had with Ned Gowan, but I prefer the way they handled this in the show. We also get a scene when Joni's leaving where Jamie asks, "Will you pray for me then?" And she says, I will every day and twice on Sundays. That is direct from the books, but that happens at the end of their conversation while Claire is there in the woods outside of the cave. Now, this is where we get one of the biggest changes from the books to the show, and it's always around Marcelly and Fergus. And I can't say I love this one, but I will explain. Jenny comes to Jamie and Claire with a letter from the colonies. And in the show, we find out that it's from Lord John expressing his very insistent request that Claire return back home because his nephew has been shot in battle and he needs immediate medical assistance. Now, in the books, the letter actually comes from Leary, and it is a request from Marcelly that she come back because Henri Christian needs medical attention. They had traveled from New Bern to Philadelphia, which is where the show is setting up where Lord John is, and he's having breathing problems. And Marcelly requests that she come back immediately because she knows that she's the only person that can help with it. Now, I have to believe that they made this change in the show due to maybe scheduling conflicts with the actors, but I really don't love how they've written out Marcelly and Fergus's storyline from the show. I'm hopeful that we'll get more of it in the rest of this season and maybe season 8, but I can do a whole other video talking about how their storyline goes in the books because it's very different than how they're being written in the show. Now, in the show, they handle this as Jenny insisting that because she cannot save her husband's life, Ian's life, she has an obligation to go save the life of this boy, Lord John's nephew. And if that means that she has to leave and Ian is going to pass away without her there, she should go. And that is kind of the impetus for her and young Ian leaving, getting back on a boat, and going back to America. Now, another grievance I had is that the scene of Jamie and Claire saying goodbye to one another, in my opinion, is far too short, and also was amongst so many other people that it felt like it was just like a very quick moment. But I will say that's good foreshadowing for the events that will happen once Claire is back in America and Jamie is supposedly heading towards her. Book readers will know what that is. I don't want to give too much of a spoiler away because it's probably going to be like the big moment of the season for non-book readers. We get this beautiful scene of Ian Murray waving goodbye to his son, and I teared up a bit. I think Stephen Cree did a wonderful job this episode. He really brought so much emotion to the character, and it felt like his farewell letter to the character. And I'm so glad he had that opportunity to do that. He handled it beautifully, and I think you can feel for young Ian just how hard this is, knowing that this is the last time he's going to see his father. But like, what a beautiful way to see him standing in front of his ancestral home for the last time and waving goodbye. So proud of him to go off and live his life and not feel tethered or tied to Scotland in any way when he's gone out in the world, seen so much, and built a life of his own. Like, this shot was just so touching. And once again, John Bell just doing a masterclass in somehow finding the child in young Ian in almost every scene where he's meant to be this adult man, and showcasing how emotional he is, just like his uncle. Before that, though, we also get this really beautiful scene between Jenny and young Ian, and we get a little snippet from the beginning frame where we get the title card for the episode. There's a picture of Jenny scraping off moss on a headstone, and it's this headstone, which is young Ian's daughter. Young Ian feels very conflicted about going back home. He doesn't want to, so he was planning on writing Rachel a letter, basically saying, like, go find someone. I'm not going to come home. I'm going to stay with my father. And in her way, Jenny lightly shoves him out the door and says, no, we are okay here. We will be fine. You have a family. You have a child. You have a woman you love. Go out and live your life. Don't stay here for us, for our sakes. I just thought this whole scene was handled so wonderfully, and it was a nice bookend to the title card where Jemmy was running through the graveyard at the same location and discovering that headstone for the first time, and how wonderful it was that Jenny is still a part of his life even though she's so far away from him. Now let's talk about the ending of the episode, which sees one of our favorite characters coming back yet again, Galis Duncan, and Roger has to bring Buck here for medical attention, not knowing, well, he knows, but Buck does not realize that this is actually his mother, because Buck, once again, is the son of Dougal and Galis. We get this wonderful shot going through the town that Claire went through originally when she first meets Galis in her shop, and it's just so fun to be brought back to those season 1 locations yet again. And when Galis opens the door, first of all, Lottie, the actress, looks exactly the same, but I think people who aren't book readers are going to be so confused as to what she's doing there, even though, once again, Roger jumped further back in the timeline than I think most people actually give proper thought about, because he's not featured so heavily in this episode. But Jamie's 18 in this timeline, so Galis she's been there a while. She's established herself as a healer, but there's so much surrounding Galis' story that I could go into. I think I'll have to do a separate video, but what a great cliffhanger to end the episode on. And book readers know what's going to come when Buck meets Galis for the first time and Roger has to witness a son and his mother interacting without them realizing that that's what they are to one another. So I'm very excited for the next episode. Let me know your thoughts about this episode in the comments, and yeah, I'm sure I'll do some follow-up videos throughout the week for any questions and character profiles that people are interested in.